God says, this is the last time heaven will allow this delay. There are exactly 2 hours left from the moment your eyes fall upon this message. After that, an irreversible moment begins to unfold. You have no idea what has already been decided in the rooms you've never entered, in places you've never seen, with people you never thought would even mention your name. But they did. They mentioned you. They watched you. They discussed you. And now, something is happening that cannot be reversed unless you act, right now. The second house next to your house is not what you think it is. Archangel Michael has been hovering over it for 3 days and 3 nights. And do you know why? Because something is buried there. A truth. A plan. A betrayal. A person. You're not supposed to know this yet. But heaven has overridden the clock of time to bring you this early. Something hidden there is connected to you in a deeper way than you realize. Archangel Michael has been walking the perimeter, speaking to the winds, touching the walls, and whispering warnings to you while you sleep. But you didn't hear it in your dreams. You woke up and thought it was just anxiety. But it was him. He was crying. Michael doesn't beg. But today he is. Archangel Michael, the great commander of God's celestial army, is on his knees. Because your soul is about to cross a timeline you won't return from if you ignore this again. This is not a metaphor. This is not a poetic message. This is a divine reality cloaked in spiritual language so your heart can hear what your mind keeps silencing. 2 hours. And in these 120 minutes, someone is watching you who should never have had access to you in the first place. And the truth is, they wouldn't have, had someone not given them permission. God says the permission came from someone who pretended to love you, but actually felt jealous the moment heaven began favoring you. They hated that your name was being lifted when theirs was being forgotten. They hated that your peace was growing while their chaos was eating them alive. So they did something unthinkable. They gave away your information. And that's how the second house came into play. The second house has a journal inside it. A real one. Not just spiritual. Not a vision. A literal journal. Inside it are pages filled with things about you that you never shared with anyone. But someone wrote them. Someone documented you like a subject. They followed your routines. They wrote down your size. They even made diagrams of who you talk to, what time you leave your house, what you eat on certain days. This may sound unbelievable. That's why Archangel Michael was weeping. Because you were almost taken, by someone who knows every detail about you. Even the ones you forgot. This is bigger than you think. God says they were going to use this journal to destroy your reputation. But when it didn't work, they switched the plan. They were going to lure you into a situation where you'd unknowingly walk into a trap. They wanted to record you, catch you on audio, or in a photo, in a compromising situation. And then they would release it, edit it, twist it, and present it to the world. But not just for gossip. No, it was to remove you from something higher. An appointment. A financial opportunity. A spiritual covering. A destiny opening. This was never about people talking. This was about preventing your rise. The second house was the staging ground. God says, that house is quiet on the outside, but a war room on the inside. You think it belongs to someone who minds their business. But you're wrong. What you don't know is that the people coming in and out are not just friends. One of them works for someone you know, someone powerful. Someone who smiles at you, calls you by name, and yet is financing a movement against you. A spiritual movement of gossip, doubt, exposure, and spiritual paralysis. But God says, I will not allow my child to be taken down by shadows and schemes. So heaven is interfering. And that's why you feel strange lately. That anxiety, that tension, that sudden desire to be alone, that sense of something's off. It's not your imagination. It's Archangel Michael standing between you and a demonic setup. There's a demonic spirit using human hands to orchestrate your failure. And they thought they succeeded. But at 3:17 a.m. last night, Michael shouted across the heavens and demanded a divine intervention. God approved it. That's why you're reading this now. But here's where your choice comes in. You can close this and pretend it's just a spiritual message and walk into the next few days blind, or you can pause everything and start praying, cleansing your space, refusing to open your door to familiar spirits in the faces of neighbors who knock and smile but have snakes in their mouths. The second house has a history. God says, that house is owned by someone who has ancestral ties to divination. Someone who plays with oils, whispers over herbs, burns things in corners, and has tried to curse you through objects. You thought that little item you saw in front of your door last week was nothing? It wasn't. That wasn't trash. That was placement. Spiritual placement. An invitation for energy to enter your life. That bracelet. That little ball of hair. That torn piece of cloth. It was all intentional. To bind you. But they failed. Because Archangel Michael placed a sword at the gate of your soul and said, not this one. God says, the person you least expect is in on this. That's what will hurt you the most. The betrayal will not come from an enemy. It's coming from someone who once called you family or love. And their biggest mistake was thinking heaven wasn't watching. But God has seen it all. And now He's not just watching. He's acting. 2 hours. Because in 2 hours, someone is going to try again. They're going to knock. Not at your front door, but your phone, your inbox, a friend's mouth, a false message, a lie. Something will try to land in your world that's designed to destabilize you. God says, do not open it. Do not answer it. Do not agree with it. They want you to doubt yourself. They want you to feel crazy. But you are not crazy. You are chosen. And that's why this is happening. The enemy doesn't attack empty vessels. He attacks anointed ones. The second house is symbolic too. It's the second attempt. This is not the first time they tried. But it's the most dangerous attempt. Because now, they're desperate. They've run out of options. And you've become more powerful than ever before. So now, they're willing to do what they said they would never do. Betrayal. Exposure. Lie. Manipulate. Bribe. Even pretend to need help just to get access again. God says, close the gate. You have 2 hours to spiritually shut every opening. Anoint your doorposts. Speak into the air. Rebuke monitoring spirits. Call upon Archangel Michael. Plead the blood of Jesus over your dwelling. Cancel every demonic appointment set in your name. Because in the next 24 hours, a shift is happening. And how you respond in these 2 hours will decide if you walk into it covered in favor or entangled in warfare. God says, you were never meant to be destroyed. That's why I'm showing you this. Not because I want to scare you, but because I want to spare you. Archangel Michael has already seen what's coming. He saw it 3 days ago. He's exhausted from fighting for you. But he hasn't stopped. He just needs you to open your eyes and act. His sword is lifted. His wings are spread. But your obedience is the key. There is something under the floor of that second house. A box. It contains photos, trinkets, and written words. All used to speak against your name. But the fire of God is coming. That house will not stand if it continues this way. A storm is scheduled. A divine shaking. A confrontation between light and darkness. God says, you are my light. And the darkness cannot comprehend you. But the enemy still tries. Because when your light starts attracting blessings, it also attracts flies. But fear not. God has sent legions. Archangel Michael is not alone. Gabriel has delivered the final warning. Raphael is standing by your body to heal what this war is doing to your health. And Uriel is lighting the path so you don't walk blindly anymore. Even your ancestors are watching. They're praying. They're weeping. They've seen what the second house is doing behind curtains. They saw the meetings. They saw the laughter when they thought you were falling. They saw the moment someone said, "Let's see how they survive this one." But you did. You survived every dagger, every lie, every whisper, every setup. And now, you rise. 2 hours. Because at the 121st minute, an angel will walk past your window. If you're in prayer, they'll enter. If you're distracted, they'll pass. That angel carries something in their hand. A reversal. A message. A scroll that breaks every curse. God says, "I want it delivered to you. But you must be ready. Do not delay." The second house is under surveillance by heaven now. What they tried to hide will be exposed. What they thought would destroy you will backfire. And the pit they dug, they will fall into it themselves. But your job now is to stand. Pray. Declare. Refuse fear. And listen. Because Archangel Michael is no longer just whispering. He's shouting. Begging. Weeping. And God is watching to see if you will listen this time. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are not without power. The second house tried to break you. But they forgot, you belong to the God who breaks every chain. 2 hours. Don't waste it. To a signal from heaven that you didn't fully understand in that moment. You turned in your sleep. You felt something shift. Your breath caught for a second. Your soul recognized the presence before your mind could. Because your spirit knows her. Not in the way of friendship or memory, but through a divine imprint left on your soul before your birth. God says, this is not the first time she's come near you. And yet, this was the first time she made it all the way to your door. Last night, Archangel Michael didn't sleep. He stood guard because what was happening around you required heavenly protection. There was a silence around your home, deeper than usual, almost heavy. Your walls may have looked the same, but your house was glowing in the spirit realm. Because heaven marked it. Marked it for visitation, marked it for revelation. Michael says, the woman didn't come to hurt you, but someone else tried to send her away. Someone who didn't want her to deliver what she carried. Someone whose prayers are poisoned. Someone who pretends to protect you but secretly fears you. Because they know that when you receive what was left, everything will change. You felt blocked these past few weeks. Stuck. Foggy in your thinking. Questioning if you're even on the right path. That's because a spiritual war was forming around you. Archangel Michael fought harder than usual in the past 3 nights, pushing back unseen forces who were attempting to blind you, distract you, and keep you from. God is exposing a deception that's been eating away at your blessings quietly. That's why this visitation had to happen now. Last night wasn't random. Heaven chose the 18th of July for a reason. There's something marked in time on this date, something that loops every few years in your life without you realizing. Patterns. Emotional breakdowns. Relational disappointments. Missed opportunities. All happening around this time in years past. But this year, it's different. Because this time, God interrupted the cycle. And He sent the silence as a warning and a key. What was left at your door is tied to a memory. A childhood fear. A moment where you felt abandoned or ignored. That wound was never fully healed, and the enemy has been using it to influence your decisions. God says no more. That woman, silent as she was heaven's way of retrieving that part of you that you lost. The object she left behind is the representation of that stolen part. A piece of your identity. A gift that was taken from you by someone who envied your light. This may sound strange, but Michael says you'll start remembering things you forgot. Dreams, flashes of the past, names that pop up suddenly. This is not confusion. It's recovery. Heaven is opening a vault of hidden information just for you. Your spirit has asked questions that your mouth didn't say aloud. God has been listening. You've been praying for a sign, begging for clarity, asking why things keep going wrong just before they go right. Why does it feel like you're always one step away from the blessing, but something pulls it back at the last second? The answer was left behind last night. Michael saw the enemy trying to rewrite your story through fear. Trying to send counterfeit opportunities. Trying to plant false love in your path. That's why you've been feeling torn inside. That's why nothing's felt stable. But God says the woman who came was His final warning and gift wrapped in one. She may have looked strange in the spirit. Her energy may have lingered long after she was gone. But that's because she carried your shift. Your divine correction. A reversal. A reset. She touched your door but never knocked because heaven doesn't beg to be let in, it waits for your agreement. And now, the object is waiting for your yes. Your full surrender. Your decision to stop doubting and to finally trust the signs you've been shown repeatedly. Michael says the time for ignoring your intuition is over. The person who keeps appearing in your dreams is part of this revelation. They know more than they admit. And someone connected to them is deeply afraid you'll find out what's really been going on behind the scenes. But God is not a God of confusion. He is not a God of secrets that harm. He is a revealer of hidden things, and He has decided that you have waited long enough. That's why last night's encounter happened. You may notice small things shifting, objects misplaced, electronics glitching, waking up at strange times, birds or animals behaving oddly around your home. These are not coincidences. They are environmental reactions to a spiritual presence still lingering. The object left behind is still active. It's glowing in the spirit. Michael says it will soon begin to affect your atmosphere even more. Things hidden will start to come to the surface. You'll overhear conversations not meant for you. You'll see texts or messages accidentally left open. Someone will slip with their words and expose the truth. All of it is heaven pulling back the curtain. And through all of it, Michael stands by you. He has shielded you from far worse than you know. Last night was not the beginning, it was the climax of a battle that's been building for months. You felt tired, drained, emotionally scattered. Because every time you got close to truth, a wave of distraction came. Every time you began to heal, a trigger was pushed. But not anymore. The object left by the silent woman is the symbol of your authority. A sign that God has given you access again. Spiritual power to speak and shift the things around you. But only if you stop second-guessing yourself. There is someone who has been draining you. A person who smiles in front of you but gossips behind your back. Their energy lingers even after they leave. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. Michael has tried to warn you through gut feelings, through headaches when they call, through uneasiness when they text. But you keep giving them access. God says He's not going to let them block you anymore. That's why He sent the visitation last night. It was an intervention. And now, you are being called to act. You are being asked to reclaim the object left at your door, not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally. You must embrace the truth being revealed, even if it hurts. Especially if it hurts. Because pain is the final layer that stands between you and the next level. You will have to walk away from someone. You will have to block someone. You will have to confront a hard truth that will shake you. But after that, blessings like rain. Unstoppable. Overflowing. Uncontainable. Michael says a financial breakthrough is also attached to this. That's why the enemy wanted to distract you. There is money owed to you. Inheritance. A contract. Something legal with your name on it. Someone tried to hide paperwork. Tried to delay a release. But heaven has unsealed the delay. Expect divine acceleration now. Don't be surprised when a message comes in the next few days with an opportunity, a refund, or unexpected deposit. That's confirmation that the object has been spiritually activated. You may feel emotional in the next few hours. You may cry unexpectedly. Memories may return. Don't be afraid. That's the detox. That's the cleansing. That's the unlocking of what's been stored inside your spirit, finally coming up for release. Let it happen. Let God purge what no longer serves your destiny. Let Michael cut the cords that have kept you tethered to old patterns. This is your moment of emergence. Your reawakening. The reason the woman came was not to scare you, but to remind you. You were chosen for something higher. You were never meant to blend in. And all the confusion you felt lately was the enemy's final attempt to steal your clarity. But it's too late. You've already been marked by heaven. The light is too bright now. The veil too thin. What's hidden can't stay hidden. What's meant for you can't be blocked anymore. Michael says within 7 days, something dramatic will shift. A message will come. A truth will be spoken. A door will open. And when it does, you must walk through it without fear. The woman may return. Not physically, but in dreams. Watch for her. Listen carefully. And when you see her, ask what she left behind. She may not speak, but you'll know the answer. It's already written in your spirit. You've always known it. God says this is your divine invitation to receive what has been waiting for you all along. Do not delay. Do not run. What you do in the next few days will shape the next few years. Heaven is watching. The angels are ready. The object is glowing. Your name is echoing across the halls of heaven. And the woman at your door? She was just the beginning. If you believe in God, type Amen. God says, this message is only for you. And time is very short. There are only 2 hours left. Archangel Michael is begging you with trembling hands and a weeping heart. He's not just sending this, he's kneeling before heaven to reach you before something irreversible happens. You are being called not just to read this but to listen with your whole soul. Because something has changed, and it involves the second house next to your house. Yes, that one. The silence you felt lately is not emptiness, it's preparation. A divine hush before the loudest miracle or the sharpest warning. And this moment, this exact hour, is more critical than you realize. God is watching you right now. Not because He doubts you, but because heaven is giving you a moment to shift the course of your future. There was something left on your doorstep last night. Not physical, but spiritual. A warning disguised as intuition. A presence disguised as stillness. A voice you heard in your heart but ignored. Archangel Michael saw it. He didn't sleep. He stood outside your home. He circled it 3 times. He placed his sword between you and the second house because something moved there in the spirit. This is not fear. This is discernment. You must understand, that house has become the focal point of an energy not meant to touch your destiny. Someone entered it recently. Not to live, but to hide. Not to grow, but to scheme. And the reason this matters to you, is because your name came up. Loudly. Repeatedly. Uninvited. They don't know the full version of you. They don't know how protected you are. They don't know who walks with you when you feel alone. But heaven knows. God knows. Michael knows. That is why the angelic realm has moved urgently today. Because that house is no longer just a house. It's a place where spiritual agreements were tried to be written without your consent. But God is stepping in. This is why the timing matters. Because tonight, if you ignore this, a door closes. Not because God punishes, but because spiritual timing is precise. And right now, God is trying to hand you something golden, glowing, holy. But He can't place it in hands that are distracted by what looks harmless. That second house is not harmless. It has seen too many eyes lately. Someone drove by slowly 3 times just yesterday. Their intention was cloaked, but heaven uncovered it. Michael intercepted them. And Michael begged. He stood at the throne room and said, "Father, give me 2 more hours with them. Let me whisper through this message. Let them hear me one last time. Let them feel my wings. Let them not brush this off again. Let them not scroll away from the answer they've been crying for. You've asked for clarity. You've pleaded for breakthrough. You've said, 'God, show me the truth.' This is it. This is the moment you prayed into existence. This is the moment heaven heard you and answered in a rush. The answer didn't come gently, it came like fire. And it's burning through this message to get to you. Because the person who visited that second house knows something about you that they should not know. And how they found out is not your fault, but if you remain silent now, you will inherit the consequences of something that isn't yours. But God says, not on my watch. Not with my beloved. Not with the one I marked for greatness. Not with the one I assigned angels to from birth. The second house contains a spiritual lock. Someone there tried to tie you to an outcome that delays your calling. Someone tried to say, they're not ready yet. But God says, they are. Someone tried to place your name on a list of denials. But heaven erased it and rewrote your name on a scroll of divine approval. Someone tried to replicate your energy, to copy, mimic, manipulate, but what they don't realize is, you're anointed. And no one can fake what heaven stamped. Michael is begging because the next 2 hours are sacred. Not metaphorically. Literally. Because a divine visitor is arriving in spirit. You might feel chills. You might hear your name being spoken when no one is around. You might feel a sudden urge to pray, cry, or pace. That's not anxiety. That's activation. There is a letter coming, spiritually. A message someone tried to hide will be exposed. Something buried will be unearthed. And you, yes, you, will be the one to decide whether to speak or stay silent. But God is pleading with you, don't let silence be your cage anymore. You've been quiet for too long. You've let others define your voice, your worth, your future. No more. Today, your silence is breaking. Not because you're angry, but because heaven is declaring, your voice is needed now. And what you feel in your stomach, that pull, that's not fear. That's your spirit being stirred. Because your spirit recognizes this message before your mind does. Your soul has been waiting for this moment. That second house is symbolic. Yes, it's real, and yes, something happened there. But deeper than that, it represents the second option. The plan B. The thing you settled for when God always had something higher. That house is the place of almost, of delay, of shadow. But you were never meant to live in shadows. You were born to illuminate. God says you are in a divine test. Not of punishment, but of readiness. Can you discern what's real? Can you step forward when heaven speaks, even if your flesh feels hesitant? This is the moment where heaven watches and holds its breath. Will you act? Will you respond? Michael has already been dispatched. He's not leaving your home for the next 2 hours. His sword is glowing. His wings are open. He's standing by your front door. He's standing near your window. Not because of fear, but because of defense. Because the time has come to protect not just your house, but your destiny. That person who recently visited the second house tried to spiritually place a mirror facing your home. To reflect your blessings back onto themselves. This is witchcraft in disguise, manipulation cloaked in familiarity. But God burned that mirror. And now the flames of truth are rising. You will start to feel people act strange toward you. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they can feel your alignment shifting. They can sense heaven choosing you out loud. You will notice that people who once ignored you now speak of you constantly. You will notice that secrets will start to spill without you asking. That's not coincidence. That's exposure. That's God saying, I'm revealing what was done in darkness. The second house is a symbol, but also a real location. In the next 3 days, someone will mention it casually. Or you'll hear something strange from there. Don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. It will seem small, like nothing. But it is confirmation that what you're reading now is heaven's voice to you. Someone is pretending to be harmless, but they're keeping track of you. But hear God say this clearly: no one can stop what I have planned for you. No one can reverse my favor. No one can remove your name from the scroll of purpose I wrote before time began. You are being spiritually armed in this moment. New armor is being fitted over you. You will dream differently. You will speak differently. You will walk differently. Because you are stepping into a higher assignment. And with it comes eyes on you. Not all friendly, but none more powerful than the eyes of God, who watches over you like fire watches dry grass. God says, don't be afraid of the second house. Just don't ignore it. The warning is not to scare you, but to wake you. Michael is crying. Yes, crying. Angels weep when a soul they guard walks toward danger with eyes closed. He has shielded you so many times. Car crashes. Heartbreaks. Decisions that would have derailed your path. He stepped in silently. But this time, he had to ask permission from God to speak directly to you. And God said, send the message. Let them hear. Let them remember who they are. You are chosen. Not by accident, but by divine strategy. You were meant to rise. You were born with a timing attached to your name. And the second house cannot delay you any longer. It cannot distract you. It cannot hold your energy in spiritual captivity. Because today, you are being released. Chains you didn't even know existed are breaking. Spiritual blocks are melting. People who were spiritually spying on you are being blinded. And you, yes, you, are being given a 2-hour window to receive what's next. Pray. Not out of fear, but out of certainty. Because when you pray after reading this, something in the atmosphere will shift. Michael will respond. God will respond. And you will feel it. Immediately. A door is being opened. A spiritual one. And the light behind it will expose what has been hiding next door, spiritually and physically. You are safe. You are surrounded. You are chosen. You are watched over. But you are being called to respond. The next 2 hours are yours. Use them wisely. Don't wait until the last second. Speak. Pray. Declare. Because heaven is leaning in, waiting for your answer. And God will not stop until you receive what is rightfully yours. Amen. God says, this is not a coincidence. It's not random. The moment your soul aligned with this message, I permitted the veils of heaven to tremble. There's a reason you feel that sudden pressure in your chest, the way your heart feels like it's about to speak. That's not fear, it's recognition. Your spirit already knows what your mind is about to discover. Listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal could change your life forever. There are exactly 2 hours left from now. Not 3. Not 5. Not tomorrow. 2 hours. That's what Michael is crying about. Yes, he's crying. And you don't know what that truly means unless you've heard an angel weep. His voice echoes through realms you cannot see. He's kneeling right now, begging me to reach you. And I am. God says, you are about to receive clarity that others would spend lifetimes searching for. But that clarity comes with a price, responsibility. You cannot unread this. You cannot unknow this. You cannot pretend you didn't see this. Michael has whispered your name to me 7 times this morning, each time with urgency, each time with sorrow. He says you've ignored his signs too many times, and now, the situation next door has reached the edge. I repeat, next door. The second house next to yours. That place you walk past without looking. That home where the curtains never seem to move. That place that, even when you think of it, gives you an unexplained chill. God says, that house carries a secret you were never meant to know, until now. And that secret is connected to you. You think you're being watched? That's because you are. You think your name is being mentioned behind closed doors? It is. You think someone close to you knows more than they're telling you? You're absolutely right. The strange thing is, this all started long ago, before you were even aware of it. A decision made in that second house created a ripple that eventually touched your destiny. Someone in that house, a woman with eyes like silence and a voice that doesn't speak unless it's poison, made a vow against your rise. God says, she pretends to be quiet, innocent, invisible. But every time your blessings draw closer, she lights a candle not to pray, but to block. She chants, not for peace, but to confuse. You've wondered why your spirit felt cloudy lately. Why the last 2 opportunities collapsed with no explanation. Why some people in your life shifted from warmth to distance without warning. It's not random. Archangel Michael traced it all. Every strand leads to her. Her intentions, her envy, her rituals, they are all active. And the moment you decided to open this message, a divine signal was triggered. Because this is the last time you will be blind to what's happening beside you. God says, Michael isn't just warning you. He's protecting you. But protection requires participation. The angels cannot fight for someone who refuses to acknowledge the battle. And what's happening now is not a misunderstanding, it's war. A spiritual war. One where your destiny, your relationships, your mental clarity, and your financial breakthrough are being played with by people who smile when you walk by. You've been marked, not by God, but by someone who fears your potential. The person who visits that second house the most is someone you know. Someone who once praised you in public but doubts you in private. Someone whose energy changed the moment you started elevating. God says, this is why Archangel Michael keeps pleading. Because if you delay any further, if you pretend this isn't serious, if you walk past that second house one more time without spiritual armor, there will be consequences that cannot be undone. Not physical ones, spiritual ones. The kind that drain your energy, distort your dreams, and cause your plans to spiral quietly into disarray. You've seen the signs. The repeated numbers. The sudden dreams. The moment of stillness when your spirit froze without knowing why. That wasn't imagination. That was divine warning. God says, there's a mirror inside that house. And your image has been placed in front of it, not with love, but with intention to reverse. You may not believe in such things, but the spiritual world does not require your belief to function. They believe in you. They believe in the threat you pose. That's why they've tried to keep you small, tired, confused, delayed. That's why each time you get close to something good, something breaks. This is not punishment, it's sabotage. But the time for being naive is over. You must wake up. You must fight. You must understand the weapon formed against you didn't come from afar, it came from right next door. God says, you've trusted the wrong people. But it's not your fault. You carry light.